Tonight, a tragic and horrific death in Alberta. An 11-year-old is killed by 2 dogs.
That's really scary and unfortunate.
The boy mauled inside an Edmonton home. The owner already under investigation for a dog attack. Outrage and condemnation after 7 aid workers are killed by an Israeli airstrike. Among the dead, a Canadian.
It is absolutely unacceptable.
Israel calls it a mistake. Inside a sanctuary city under strain, suddenly home to tens of thousands of migrants.
These children are just like our children. And when people see that, it's just difficult to believe people should just suffer and starve.
From housing to jobs, we break down the struggle to support the people at the center of an American political firestorm.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with the tragic story out of Edmonton. A community is mourning the death of an 11-year-old boy killed in a dog attack. Police say he was visiting this house, a home that has received multiple complaints about their dogs, including 2 other reported attacks in the past 3 months alone. Julia Wong now with the investigation into how this could happen and the shock in the neighborhood.
A massive emergency response to a horrific incident. Monday night in this quiet residential neighborhood, police say an 11-year-old boy was attacked and killed by 2 dogs.
I saw a guy who was crying. They went out and he was, someone is consoling the guy.
Police say the large dogs belong to someone who lives in this house, and the 11-year-old was just visiting. Some neighbors say the death is disturbing.
My son walks to school and from school, so that's concerning that, not even just their dog, but any animal attack could happen now. It's in my mind.
It's really scary knowing that that any time of the day a dog can attack a small kid.
The city of Edmonton says animal control has been called to the house before, including 2 complaints this year about attacks inside the residence. All of that as the number of dog attack complaints in Edmonton has been rising for the last few years. In the first 6 months of 2021, there were close to 360. The same time period last year, nearly 600. And these incidents are not limited to Edmonton. A recent attack at a Toronto park left a child with life-altering injuries. The owner later arrested. The Humane Society says it's critical dog owners have control over their animals at all times, even at home.
Even leashing their animal while they're making introductions and having a good understanding of what their behavior looks like so that they can intervene if needed.
I'm sorry for the family. It's tough, man.
People here say the attack has made them rethink how they interact with dogs.
My kids love dogs and always want to run up and grab them or touch them. And I'll have to outline the breeds that are extra scary.
Obviously, every dog is different, but that's scary. That's really scary and unfortunate that it happened in their own home.
So, Julia, you're at that scene tonight where the investigation is still, I gather, quite active.
Yeah, it really is. As you can see, officers are still here at this scene and the forensics team has arrived. They will be combing through where this attack happened. Now, officers have also been looking at a security camera at the front of this house, and they've been canvassing the neighborhood, talking to people who live here. As for the 2 dogs that were involved, they have been seized by animal control, and it's not clear what will happen to them.
All right, Julie Wong, thank you. We are now learning the identity of a Canadian citizen killed while delivering urgently needed food to Palestinians in Gaza. The World Central Kitchen, which was overseeing the mission, is sharing pictures of all 7 of the victims. Jacob Flickinger is a dual Canadian-U.S. citizen, a relief worker who was only 33 years old. So the deaths have been resulting in widespread condemnation, including from Israel's allies. Chris Brown now on the push for accountability and how this could make the situation in Gaza even worse.
One SUV had a hole ripped in the middle of its roof with the impact point right next to the World Central Kitchen logo. The convoy was returning from an aid delivery in a supposedly safe, deconflicted zone when Israeli media say a drone launched 3 missiles a few minutes apart at each car. Those inside reportedly tried to save themselves by scrambling into the next vehicle but eventually all 7 were killed. Eyewitness Shoaib Al-Jaras said the vehicles were distributing food. We saw that the Israelis had targeted the foreigners inside the car. In Rafah, the workers' passports confirmed who'd been killed.
Hey, this is Zomi and Chef of the Day.
Among the dead, 43-year-old Zomi Frankham from Australia, a longtime volunteer, a Polish man, 3 British nationals, a dual Canadian-American citizen, and their Palestinian driver, who was buried Tuesday. Israel's prime minister said the aid convoy was attacked in error. There was a tragic case of our forces unintentionally hitting innocent people in the Gaza Strip. This happens in wartime, said Benjamin Netanyahu. From Israel's key allies, there were expressions of outrage, but no other repercussions.
But we expect a broader investigation to be conducted and to be done so in a swift and comprehensive manner.
While these are the first foreign aid workers killed in Gaza, almost 200 Palestinians working with the UN have also died, along with civilians trying to get food, making such deaths an increasingly frequent occurrence rather than an exception, says this former Israeli peace negotiator.
We have seen incident after incident where attempts to get supplies in have ended up seeing innocent civilians killed. Now those delivering the aid have also fallen prey to those Israeli strikes.
World Central Kitchen and other private aid agencies have now stopped operations in Gaza, and ships sent from Cyprus with more than 200 tons of aid have turned back.
Israel's creating not only a breakdown of order and a vacuum, but then the people who try to fill it are also being targeted. It's very hard not to see this as some kind of strategy of using aid as a weapon.
So, Chris, the United Nations is calling this another enormous setback in the efforts to simply feed Gaza.
Well, this convoy, Adrian, was passing through an area known as a deconfliction zone, which is intended to ensure that food can be delivered to very hungry people in an orderly way and without the threat of fighting. Today, the UN said Israel must adhere to those deconfliction rules. Israel's government, on the other hand, claims there is no food crisis in Gaza, that enough trucks are entering and the distribution problems, rather, are not its fault. But the UN and every other aid agency in Gaza disputes that. Adrian.
All right, Chris Brown in London for us tonight. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Justin Trudeau is also demanding an investigation into the killing of the 7 aid workers.
There needs to be clarity on how this happened, and we need to make sure that we are pushing continually towards a ceasefire so more aid workers are not in danger as they try to respond to the suffering on the ground in Gaza.
And the Prime Minister went on to call the incident unacceptable and said those responsible must be held accountable. Breaking tonight, a powerful earthquake has rocked Taiwan, putting a number of Japanese islands under tsunami advisory. Just one example of the destruction the quake brought to Taiwan. So here you can see the shaking skyline of the capital city, Taipei, and some damaged buildings at street level in a nearby city. Some buildings collapsed, and there are reports of people trapped inside. The quake, with a magnitude of at least 7.2, struck early Wednesday morning and shook the entire island nation. That sent waves rushing towards Japanese islands, including Okinawa. Japan is sending planes to assess damage on some of the smaller islands. The Canadian MP at the center of foreign interference allegations was questioned today at the public inquiry. Former Liberal Han Dong rejected any claims of interference in the nomination for his Toronto riding, but questions were raised around international students bussed in to vote. Ashley Burke takes us through it.
What do you say in response to the allegations? A former Liberal MP here to tell his side of the story. Han Dong testifying at the public inquiry into foreign interference, a year after resigning from caucus, following a media report that alleged he won a seat in 2019 with Beijing's help.
Do you accept that the People's Republic of China is attempting to interfere in Canadian democracy?
I personally haven't seen any evidence of it.
The inquiry said an unsubstantiated intelligence report suggested irregularities tied to buses of international students during his federal nomination race in Don Valley North.
I was reminded recently by my wife that there's a bus, with students coming in to vote.
Dong told the inquiry students did show up on one bus to his nomination contest, a detail he didn't share with the committee for 6 weeks.
Had you ever had any connection to the students?
I remember visiting the residence and had a conversation with the students that came to the gathering. And I encouraged them to volunteer.
The inquiry heard that international students over 14 can vote in Liberal nomination races if they're permanent residents living in the riding.
They showed up to vote. To me, it's pretty regular.
This government intelligence report with unsubstantiated claims also suggested that students were provided with falsified documents to allow them to vote despite not being residents of Don Valley North, and that a proxy agent was involved. Dong's campaign manager at the time said it's not possible.
So that makes no sense whatsoever. And I'll tell you why that makes no sense. First of all, there are only 3 entities that have access to who is on the membership list.
Up next at the inquiry, former Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole. He's one of several witnesses who say they were targets of foreign interference and not properly warned by the government. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
The federal budget is just over 2 weeks away, but when it comes to money for housing, the government isn't waiting. The funding is in the billions, and the provinces can scoop up their share. But as Olivia Stefanovich shows us, there's a catch.
Good to see you guys. The Prime Minister says the federal government is ready to open the checkbook.
Canadians need help with housing.
More than $6 billion is on the table. But in order to access the cash, provinces and municipalities need to play by Ottawa's rules.
We're not just going to put this money on the table, wash our hands of the issue and walk away. We're going to insist that our partners make certain kinds of changes that make it easier and faster to build homes in this country.
Tying new infrastructure dollars to housing density, demanding a change to zoning rules to make way for more multi-units, including fourplexes, townhouses, and apartment buildings.
The money should come to the provinces who are doing the work.
Those who don't meet Ottawa's requirements will lose their share of the money to municipalities.
It's a bit unfortunate that it's kind of a take or kind of here's our option, so if you don't agree, then too bad.
Well, I think if they come with a checkbook, it's fair. They're not asking us to do anything that we weren't doing anyway.
Municipalities will have their own set of federal rules to follow. Ottawa is demanding a cut to red tape to allow high-density housing next to post-secondary institutions and transit lines.
This government is really going potentially in the weeds of governance issues in the provinces and in the municipalities.
This academic says it's normal to see the government put restrictions on funding. But what is unusual is the environment in which Ottawa plans to enter negotiations.
The relationships between the federal government and the provincial premiers are quite strained.
Ontario's premier has already said he won't force municipalities to build fourplexes, a key part of the federal approach. Provinces have until the end of this year to strike a deal, with a federal election expected next year. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
4 people narrowly escaped after their vehicles were swept up in a landslide in western Newfoundland.
One was pushed into the river, the other was entangled in the landslide debris. The occupants of those vehicles were able to walk from the vehicle, shocked no doubt.
First responders were able to rescue 2 others from the river before their truck went under. Corner Brook saw heavy rains overnight in addition to a lot of melting snow. The road will remain closed for now. And a 12-year-old boy has been arrested in a school shooting in Finland. 1 student was killed, 2 others injured.
The condition of those 2 victims is also serious.
Police say all 3 victims were also 12 years old in 6th grade. The shooter was captured not far from the school. He reportedly had a gun with him. Investigators say it was owned by a relative of his. A national day of mourning will be observed on Wednesday. In his run for a second term as U.S. president, Donald Trump was forced again to navigate between the campaign and the courts. A victory of sorts in one case and a reprimand in another. Katie Simpson shows us how it's all grist for the base.
To the delight of a packed rally, Donald Trump bragged about posting his $175 million bond, while simultaneously complaining about having to make the payment at all.
You see, this is all election interference, because that's money I could have used on the election. This is all election. Put up $175 million. Nobody ever heard of a $175 million bond.
This means Trump holds on to all of his assets while he appeals the decision in his civil fraud case. Trump reached a deal with an insurance company owned by a billionaire Republican donor to underwrite the bond. Still, Trump is in a cash crunch and raising money in unusual ways, hawking his own brand of sneakers at $400 a pair and selling Bibles for $60 a copy.
Let's make America pray again. God bless you.
He also took his media company public, but the stock's price dropped sharply, shrinking the value of his shares by $2 billion, while the company faces barriers to long-term success.
From a fundamental perspective or a business perspective of like, is this company going to take over X? Is it going to be the new X or the new Facebook? It's very unlikely.
Trump's fiscal problems are ramping up as he prepares for criminal trial, the first ever of a former president.
I have a Trump-hating judge with a Trump-hating wife and family.
After repeated attacks on the judge's family, including his daughter, a gag order has been expanded, barring Trump from criticizing the judge's family, along with witnesses, prosecutors, and court staff. A move legal experts had been calling for.
I've presided over thousands of hearings and trials during my nearly 20 years as a trial judge, and never did any defendants in my courtroom show such disrespect toward the court system as was shown by Donald Trump.
Trump is requesting the judge in his criminal trial be removed, something he unsuccessfully tried before. Jury selection in that case begins April 15th. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
At his rallies, Trump often scapegoats migrants as a threat to the U.S., but in a so-called sanctuary city, many are trying to help those who've just arrived.
These children are just like our children. They need the same things, they have the same personalities, they have the same sense of humor.
Paul Hunter looks at the issue that could define the race for the White House. That's coming up. Plus, growing concern tonight about a human case of avian flu.
Hopefully, it doesn't go any further than this.
The threat the virus could pose, that's next. And later,
this is the SCTV News.
Remembering a comedy icon.
Joe was kind of the godfather of SCTV.
How Joe Flaherty made us laugh. We're back in 2 minutes. That flyby, part of a Royal Canadian Airforce celebration today marking its centennial. A monument was unveiled for the milestone in Borden, Ontario. That is home to a First World War training base and a newly renovated museum. Thousands of Canadians have served in the Air Force over the past 100 years. And in France, the day was marked in Normandy at the building considered the first liberated by Canadian troops on D-Day. It is known as Canada House. And this is what it looks like tonight, lit up in blue in honor of the anniversary. Canadian dairy farmers are carefully watching a developing story tonight south of the border. A number of states are reporting cases of bird flu in cows. And yesterday, confirmation of a human case. Lauren Pelly looks at the risks to both animals and people.
It's a new twist in the spread of H5N1 bird flu, a growing outbreak among American dairy cattle.
We, to our knowledge, have never seen a cow be infected with any influenza A viruses, so this is just really odd.
Close to a dozen dairy herds now have outbreaks across New Mexico, Texas, Kansas, and further north in Michigan.
As soon as I heard that it was crossing into cows, into dairy cows, it's like, oh boy, that's my industry, and I know there's going to be some fallout.
American health officials also announced the country's second ever human case. The individual had contact with dairy cattle in Texas and only had mild symptoms.
Hey girls.
bird flu does occasionally infect and even kills people who've had close contact with sick animals. And it keeps appearing in more species, from various wild and farmed birds, to goats, to mammals from the North Pole to the south, including seals and even a polar bear.
We don't want more flu strains circulating in animals. That just creates the potential for things to change, and whether that's the virus just mutates as it jumps into people.
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has not detected bird flu in dairy cattle or other livestock in Canada, but says it's monitoring the situation closely. The agency also said it's been informed by American officials that bird flu was detected in unpasteurized milk from sick dairy cattle in some U.S. states.
It's pretty much just fingers crossed. Hopefully it doesn't go any further than this.
Quebec-based dairy farmer Jason Erskine works near the U.S. border. He says farms like his have biosecurity measures in place.
We're hopeful that just the steps that we're already taking will be enough to protect our herd.
So, Lauren, can we talk about the measures that are in place to protect Canadian cattle and consumers? Since, of course, you know, we're hearing about bird flu showing up in U.S. milk.
Well, Canadian farmers told us they do have protective measures in place, basically to keep out birds and outside visitors. But as we're seeing in the U.S., this virus can still find a way in. So what's more reassuring to Canadians is there are major biosecurity measures in place to protect the milk. So Canadian milk has to go through a pasteurization process, which kills any harmful viruses or bacteria, things like influenza, before it ever reaches a consumer. And of course, don't ever drink raw milk. This is yet another reminder of why that is risky.
All right, Lauren Pelly, thank you.
Thank you.
The entertainment world is mourning the loss of a comedy legend with a strong connection to Canada.
I was amazed by how compassionate and open Joe was with all the people who were auditioning.
Remembering Joe Flaherty next. Plus, in the race for the White House, it's one of the most polarizing issues.
They will vote in November with immigration in mind.
Paul Hunter visits a sanctuary city, speaking to migrants and those trying to help them. And the Amazon rainforest is burning at an alarming rate.
The climate is playing a very important role on that.
Has it reached a tipping point? The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next.
Oh, it looks yum. Sure is. It smells so good, too.
Well, there's a classic SCTV moment. John Candy in the Leafs jersey, Joe Flaherty in the Habs. Flaherty died yesterday following a brief illness. Back to Gabriel Salasa on the lasting comedic legacy for a man considered by many to be an honorary Canadian.
And this is the SCTV News.
Joe Flaherty was part of a Canadian classic. A founding member of SCTV, the beloved sketch comedy show, he played Floyd Robertson, a parody of a news anchor. Guy Caballero, the fictional owner of SCTV, and the vampire Count Floyd.
Time for another monster chiller horror theater.
Dave Thomas was among former SCTV castmates that spoke with Flaherty recently.
Joe was kind of the godfather of SCTV. Joe was always there in the background, pulling the strings, initiating things, making things happen.
Flaherty was born in Pittsburgh. He did improv at the Second City in Chicago before bringing his comedic talent to Toronto, working alongside Martin Short.
So he was a great teacher, he was a great director, and he was a great coworker and a great friend.
After SCTV, Flaherty appeared in a number of TV shows, including Freaks and Geeks.
Shouldn't you be doing your homework? Me?
And on the big screen, perhaps his most memorable role.
You will not make this putt, you jackass!
Playing a heckler in Happy Gilmore alongside Adam Sandler. Sandler called Flaherty a genius of a comedian and a true sweetheart. His kindness is something his colleagues at Toronto's Humber College remember too. He taught comedy there for years.
I was amazed by how compassionate and open Joe was with all the people who were auditioning. I knew he was terrifically talented, but that's when I realized that he had this whole other realm to him, which was as a kind of mentor and an instructor.
Flaherty was a family man as well, a father of two. Joe Flaherty was 82 years old. Magda Gebre-Selassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. 3 separate destructive forces push Earth's biggest rainforest to the brink.
We were arriving at a very dangerous limit for Amazon.
But first, inside a sanctuary city hosting 40,000 migrants bust out by Texas.
And you see that these children are just like our children. They need the same things.
They're poisoning the blood of our country.
In the churn of election year politics, they rely on cash-strapped cities.
We need more support because we can't do this alone.
Aware they're not welcome everywhere. Last year, Paul Hunter showed us what migrants go through in Mexico to try to cross the border. Well, tonight, one of their destinations, Denver, Colorado, where Paul breaks down the challenges that still remain.
Under a bright blue early springtime sky, camping tents line a giant parking lot. On the sidewalk behind them, an ad hoc outdoor haircut is underway, while flags of Venezuela hang nearby. This is Denver, Colorado. For a city its size, it's taken in more undocumented migrants the last year or so than any other in America, some 40,000. On the day we visited, living in one of those tents in this encampment, Daniela. She told us she fled corruption and violence in Venezuela 2 years ago, finally crossing into America 2 months ago.
Solamente pido las dos cosas. Carta de trabajo.
We're not looking for any government handouts, she told us. We only want 2 things, a work permit and a safe place to be, nothing else. We're not here to commit crimes. At the U.S.-Mexico border, images such as these are seen daily. Migrants from further south seeking safety and a better life in the U.S. So many migrants, it's overwhelmed America's capacity to take them in. But for many millions of Americans, videos such as this, taken at the border just last month, signal it can be frighteningly out of control. And it's become an enormous political issue, with the governor of Texas now busing migrants out of that state directly to so-called sanctuary cities in the north, places that make clear they welcome migrants. All of this as former President Donald Trump regularly derides migrants, while current President Joe Biden uses Trump's words against him.
Now he says immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country.
They're poisoning the blood of our country.
What the hell is he talking about?
Back in Denver, in a church basement in this self-declared sanctuary city, a volunteer program aimed at giving migrants whatever they need. Free suitcases are handed over to be filled with toiletries, baby formula, diapers, shoes, clothing of all sizes, especially winter wear, anything they all need, young and old, right now.
No importa si tiene caso.
Upstairs, more migrants are told how things work, how asylum works, public transit, how to get health care, education, a driver's license, an apartment, a job. In the red sweater, Darius, who fled Venezuela nearly a year ago, finally crossing into America, cutting herself on barbed wire at the border, she told us, then put on a bus in Texas and shipped off to Denver. We are humans, we are hard workers, we are honest people, she told us. We can all work together. When she finished speaking, she broke down in tears.
Toothbrushes, toothpaste, usual hygiene stuff.
For organizer Jennifer Kettering, the goal here is twofold: to help those in need and to signal to the rest of America that those who deride or fear such migrants need a rethink.
Our community rose up to something when it was in our doorstep, in our neighborhood, and I think the more neighborhoods get that exposure, it becomes less abstract. And you see that these children are just like our children. They need the same things, they have the same personalities, they have the same sense of humor, and when people see that, it's just difficult to believe people should just suffer and starve.
You see that approach throughout Denver. At this parking lot, it's the end of a day's work for migrants who, for a few dollars of donated cash, have spent the day collecting garbage off of city streets. Among them, we're told, a migrant nurse. an accountant, a teacher. And this man, a forensic pathologist from Valencia, Venezuela, yet another migrant who fled that country's violence, only to now find himself caught in America's politics. We spoke to Frank through a translator.
Has Frank heard of Donald Trump?
¿Has escuchado el nombre Donald Trump?
Sí, muchísimo.
Mucho.
Mucho.
And though he laughs, he knows that the politics of this country complicates everything he and others are hoping for.
Como dicen lo de la deportación a inmigrantes.
I've heard Trump would do mass deportations of immigrants, he tells us. But he emphasizes,
Muchas gracias por recibirnos aquí.
I'm grateful to all who've welcomed us to this country. Meanwhile, across town, a bus pulls up to a one-time hotel, now converted to a city-funded migrant shelter with more migrants freshly brought from Texas. At this place, guided on beginning their new lives. They're offered counseling, given advice for their kids, and there's food for everyone, and eventually, shelter. All of it costs money. So make no mistake, the city of Denver has spent millions coming to the aid of migrants sent this way from Texas.
There's a huge financial component to this. We're staring down a $120 million deficit right now. We're still trying to find cuts for that are as painless as humanly possible, but it is tough. Every room in here is set aside for newcomers. So,
John Ewing, with the city of Denver, says they're trying to do the right thing and help all who land here, but he underlines both major federal parties in this country have yet to respond to the staggering growth in migrant numbers, leaving Denver and others in the lurch.
But at the end of the day, we need more support because we can't do this alone.
Indeed, the expense and worries over health and safety have complicated all of this and brought pushback from some. Over time, multiple encampments have been shut down. In nearby Aurora, they've explicitly declared migrants will not be offered city-funded services here.
The position of Aurora right now is that we are not a sanctuary city.
City Councilor Danielle Jurinsky is among those concerned that so many undocumented migrants are being allowed into America that federal authorities will, too often, simply lose track of them. And indeed, millions of Americans support Donald Trump's view that they should all simply be turned back at the border.
That this is going to be a tipping point, that Americans are taking this so seriously, they will vote in November with immigration in mind. They absolutely will. And if the Joe Biden administration hasn't realized that now, I think they're in big trouble.
And so it is. Migrants in Denver and beyond with their American dream in a kind of limbo. As more street encampments in Denver are shut down, this is an eviction notice, while an election looms and the future of all is in the balance.
So, Paul, you mentioned the looming election, of course, and then just today, Donald Trump brought up immigration in a campaign speech again.
Yeah, he sure did, Adrian, and he painted a very different picture from what we saw in Denver. On stage in Michigan, he said, quote, Joe Biden has brought the carnage and chaos and killing from all over the world and dumped it straight into our backyards, once again calling migrants animals. Anecdotes aside, fact is that violent crime in this country fell last year. And as Joe Biden often points out, there was a plan to combat what's playing out at the border, but Republicans blocked it on the say-so of Donald Trump. Today won't be the last time Trump raises the migrant issue, Adrian. Fear, regardless of facts, has long proven to be a powerful campaign tool.
Absolutely. All right, Paul Hunter in Washington. Thanks, Paul. Coming up, scientists are raising the alarm about the escalating destruction in the Amazon rainforest.
We are arriving at a very dangerous limit for Amazon.
Susan Ormison looks at the factors pushing this vital ecosystem right to the edge. That is next on The Breakdown. The triple threat nightmare degrading the Amazon rainforest.
The climate is playing a very important role on that.
These breathtaking scenes of destruction driving home a growing fear that this natural wonder can't take much more. Now, Now, some call those forests the lungs of the earth. Now, Susan Ormiston, our international climate correspondent, breaks down the forces at work to destroy them.
In pockets of northern Brazil, fire is sucking the life out of the rainforest. In one province, a record number of fires in February nearly eclipsed all of last year, and last year was bad. So why are fires raging now? A devastating combination: elevated heat, historic drought, and deforestation, pushing parts of the Amazon towards a tipping point.
We are losing the Amazon rainforest. These changes in the climate provoked by El Nino makes this forest fire season even worse than we are used to see.
In the fall of 2023, while the world was warming at a record rate, people in Manaus, Brazil, were choking on smoke. The mighty Amazon River was drying up. Dolphins dying in abnormally warm water. And that vital waterway used by tens of thousands of people sunk too low.
We had a massive death of fisheries because how warm the water was. Something I never seen in my life. Communities were isolated, they could not drink the water, eat the fish, and they could not go to the market because the rivers were not passing. So those were the conditions that this El Nino, together with climate change, brought to the Amazon.
Annie Alencar studies the Amazon forest. This year has tested her faith in its power to adapt.
When you have a climatic condition that is very severe, the first thing that the trees do, they shed their leaves. So when they shed their leaves, you have right there a very good fuel material for the fire. At the same time that you open the canopy.
Opening up the canopy dries out the understory, the vegetation underneath, making it more prone to burn, leading to fire surges in Brazil and across parts of South America.
Colombia, Venezuela, Guyanas, you see a very high fire activities. And this is another kind of proof that the climate is playing a very important role on that.
She says smoke from Amazonian fires last fall was just as harmful to people as the smoke that choked North American cities last summer. Only fewer noticed.
When Canada burned and you have this massive smoke plume going to New York and everybody, oh no, I can't breathe and so on. I looked at the concentrate of particulate material in the air and I looked to what we face in the Amazon every year, and it's exactly or even more. There are people there breathing that air every single fire season.
But there's another incendiary ingredient impacting the stress on the rainforest, an ongoing battle over deforestation. We saw the evidence of that back in fall 2022 when we traveled to the Brazilian Amazon. We recorded this scene, fire deliberately set illegally by land grabbers, clearing land over a kilometer from the nearest major road, often hidden under the canopy to avoid surveillance. Once the big timber is cut and sold or confiscated, ranchers use the cleared land for cattle and farmers plant feedstock. Under Jair Bolsonaro's government, the former president, deforestation soared, leaving blackened scars, and at the edges, a forest weakened, more vulnerable to the ravages of a year like 2023.
We are crossing, or we are arriving at a very dangerous limit for Amazon. And not everybody are observing that we are very near this limit. We need to talk more seriously about tipping points. And the part of the Amazon is very near tipping points.
The election of a new president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, just over a year ago, targeted illegal deforestation. The Environment Minister reporting a 22% drop since then in the deforested rainforest. But that was eclipsed by the effects of El Niño and the devastating drought, which is still ongoing.
We cannot wait. We need to do something like an emergency situation. This is the problem. We cannot wait.
In northern Brazil, the hand-to-hand combat, spraying down the brush, is no match for the fire's spread. Normally, fires dissipate as the region heads towards the rainy season, but this year, here, the fires are hanging on. Are you worried about the ability of the rainforest to recharge itself this spring?
Yes, I'm worried. We have seen some data on the rivers that they didn't come back to the peak that they have during the rainy season this time. And this is a very important indicator and a very worrisome indicator.
The world's largest rainforest helps cool our climate. A healthy forest, like we saw, pulls in and sequesters CO2. But stress on the forest from fire, heat, and drought means the forest will release vast amounts of carbon. And in many states, the former president's party still wields power, and there's stiff opposition to preserve more forested land.
We are no longer facing Bolsonaro's term, but this idea, politics of legislations that try undermine the forest protection in Brazil, it's really alive. It's still operating in the country, and so international pressure, international surveillance is absolutely important, and it makes difference.
The coming months will tell a story. El Niño, the warming weather pattern, is expected to dissipate. But the climatic changes last year were so severe, the rainforest is vulnerable to another devastating fire season.
Susan reminds us that France and Brazil just launched a plan to invest more than $1 billion in public and private money to help protect the Brazilian and Guyanese rainforest. Welcome funds, but money alone cannot cool the climate. Coming up next in our moment, this friendly fella looks for a new home.
This is cute. He's meeting one of the other piggies through the gate.
The rescued pig looking for adoptive parents. Well, that is one very sleepy fella. That's Big Red taking a peaceful nap at an animal shelter in Prince George, BC. He was rescued from the side of a highway in the province's southern interior. So he's doing a lot better now, interacting with all the animals at the rescue and getting known for his personality. All that's needed now is a home for him with owners who can match his energy. Tonight, Big Red's reality is our moment.
He was probably meant to be on somebody's dinner plate. Somehow he escaped and he ended up here. Somebody could have dumped him. The area he was found, there are a lot of farms that breed pigs for meat purposes. Knowing his escaping capabilities, it wouldn't surprise me if he got out of somebody's pig pen and went on a wander. He come in with really black skin on the back of his ears and his tail, and we weren't sure if that was from a disease. He was probably attacked by coyotes or dogs. He's starting to look a lot better. Most of the pigs we rescue are actually really afraid of humans. He's super friendly. He just gets along with everybody. This is cute. He's meeting one of the other piggies through the gate. See, right now, he's trying to figure out how he can get through that fence. We're hoping to find him a foster with the possibility to adopt. Anyone who is happy to spend time around him. He is a gorgeous boy.
And a chatty one, too. So he just had his first visit to the vet. He's been dewormed, neutered, all of that. So he's ready to be adopted. And they said, look, you need to have a lot of space so you can run around with them, should like animals, and just be ready to match that energy, as she said. For all of us, here at The National. Thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.